Hello, welcome back to the Spirit of Watercolor with Linda, and I'm so glad you're back. And it's time to do another painting video. I'm going to take a little bit of a shift. This channel is all about watercolor and the spiritual nature of watercolor. And yet, in the past, when I was teaching watercolor at the Ann Arbor Art Center years ago, I did teach one lesson on Chinese painting. Chinese painting is like Sumi-e. They are related to calligraphy painting, where you use the bamboo brushes and squirrel brushes and such. And I have this, was a gift to me from a wonderful lady at my church, friend, and it inspired me to talk about these because the calligraphy brushes can be a way of teaching us to have a stronger hand. It's not like we have to do this verbatim in the West here. But if you are interested in calligraphy or bamboo, it's very spiritual painting as well. In fact, that's kind of the whole idea is there's the paintings are about the beauty and the spirit of life itself within and how that's expressed through the painting. And it began with calligraphy, and of course calligraphy was an art in itself. I think it was, they said 3,500 years ago. I've been doing some history reading, getting myself a little more educated in this so I don't misinform people. And I'm not going to get deeply into it here, but anyway, here's this wonderful little gift. Okay, it was, you saw how that was closed, and then you open this up and there's these bamboo brushes, and they are, you know, the traditional brushes. I think there's more than some people even use. I think you can use one or two, and I have used these in watercolor, and that's why I want to bring these up. You can use these to help you to get the flow of the paint, and to get the thing that we try to get in watercolor is that even if you use a big flat brush, you know, that the one stroke to keep it fresh and get the information down. You know, I talk about that all the time, right? And you know, and getting that message through the stroke. And use different brushes for different strokes. We do that in watercolor, right? You know, the flat brush does one thing, the round, the pointed round, you know, all these, you know, there's the different shaped brushes and so forth, where they have the rounded edge and, you know, filberts, and what's that long one, you know, that has the long, thin stroke that you can sign your name with, and these kinds of things. But here, you know, they use basically these brushes, and you wet them. I'm going to wet this for you real quick so you can see that they do create like a point. Let me just dip that in the water here. Some are stiffer, apparently, and then some are softer. The stiffer ones, and they tend to have a thicker handle than this, are the ones that they write calligraphy with, okay? And you hold the brush, and I actually naturally do it now because I used it years ago. There's a way you hold the brush and use your arm, you know, to write with detail, and there's a real discipline to that. But the painters, you know, the Chinese painting, the Sumi-e, which are related, they all kind of were happening, you know, I think the Chinese, they think anyway, began this, you know, the writing, and it transferred over to Japan and Korea, so Sumi-e is Japanese. And then anyway, you get the softer brushes, and actually some of these are white, so I need to find out which are stiffer and which are not. But you'll write, and you'll, you know, the softer brushes will do that more flow of painting. And some of these have more bristles and some have less, so you can get larger and, you know, more different sizes, sort of like we do with watercolor. We have different size brushes. Okay, so that's it, kind of my, how do I say, summarization of that. And so what I want to do here is we're going to take our watercolors and, or I'm sorry, I'm going to actually take some ink. I'm not going to use the rice paper, which is actually made out of bamboo. It's a little tip that I found out too. I'm not sure why they call it rice paper. Maybe originally it was made out of rice, right? And anyway, so, you know, we will practice using these brushes a little, and I've taken a photograph of, I have a bamboo tree upstairs that I've been growing forever, so I can kind of practice, and I photographed it, and I'll show you that. And we'll do some practice strokes, and if you can afford, I mean, these aren't expensive if you go and buy a couple of these brushes at like Michael's or anywhere, and then you can practice and get that, you know, just a little bit of understanding of how these work. And then I would like to move into trying something, and I think this will be in the next video. So this will just be our practice of getting bamboo leaves and maybe some other long, like I have some spider plants, and just make a little painting simple. And then we'll just use one color so we don't get all thought and worried about the colors and so forth. Because in watercolor we could do anything, right? We can add colors, all right? But then I'll do part 2, or the next video, I'll just, I would like to work on doing fish. I have a betta fish. I always have a betta fish. When they live out their life, I get another betta fish. And we will do, using these brushes, a betta fish, or any kind of fish, a koi fish, you know, just a fish, a simple, how do we do it? Just for a simple subject. Birds are another common one, and I did do a bird painting, which, you know, I will use as a thumbnail for this, I think. And you can see that they just do these happy, simple, but full of emotion strokes that say so much. And that is something that I think transfers into watercolor. So why don't you join me at the table? I'm so happy to be here. I've been thinking about this for like 2 days and planning it out and reading and getting my thoughts together. And so let's go and let's practice and make a beautiful, simple plant painting for practice. Maybe for you it's watercolor too, but you can use these to add to your repertoire, add to your brushes. So I'm very excited, happy you're here. I'll stop going on and we will go to the table and get a play for these brushes. Okay, I'll see you there. Okay, so I started by just practicing on some rice paper, some brush strokes, and they're very rugged, as you can see, and you have to get warmed up. So don't be impatient with yourself, okay? And then I took this photograph. Let me bring it down. Okay. And this photograph is of a bamboo tree up in my living room, and a spider plant that's really long as well. Okay. And so I just kind of leaned that here to use as a reference. And then I began to practice. I did a little spattering after too, but just practicing some of the bamboo branches. It's a bit rugged again, but as you do it, you warm up, see, and you figure out how these brushes work, and you start to bring in these strokes, okay, and bring them along. And I tried it with a thicker ink and a thinner of the ink. So I'm just using India ink because I'm practicing, and I haven't actually tried their ink. It may be superior to a good old-fashioned India ink. So okay, so now we're just going to do this again, hopefully a little stronger hand and knowing what to expect. And you know, again, the goal is to get these fresh strokes. Now, if I want it really dark, say for my my trunk, and my trunk was a little too, I want to hold this as much as I can like they do, okay? And you can look all this up if you're interested, or just hold it the way you like to, but, you know, getting a thinner bamboo branch was what I had hoped to do, and I hadn't done it. It got pretty thick, okay? Just bring it up. Don't worry if it's perfect or not. We're practicing, okay? And then there was another branch in there, trunk, sorry. And I'm just, again, just working on making as clean of fresh strokes as I can. I'm going to move my spider plant a little further over here, I think. And there's a pressure that you do when you want these leaves to, so you press and then lift to get that lovely point, okay? And you have to slow down, which is what I wasn't doing. I was a bit, I guess, like whenever you start something new or that you haven't done in a long time, right? You get a little self-conscious and whatnot and you want to fix everything. And our thought here is just to try these strokes and just get them to do what we want. Okay, cleaner and fresher the better. And here, this one was really thin. Sometimes branches come out like that though, and that's okay. You know, I mean, spider plant things. And so I'm just gonna leave them as fresh as possible. The variation of the grays and blacks I want. If I want it to get deeper again, I can go back into the thicker paint. If I want it just to be a lighter gray, then we just go further back in the background. So here I sped up the video, and yet my hand is stronger and more confident, and I'm breaking up the bamboo because there are these like nodules in between that I remembered from in the past when I painted this. So here you can see that I'm still varying the values with the different amount of concentration of the ink, and I kind of like how it's going. And I'll just add, after this in the photos, you'll see I just added some pots with watercolor with some browns of mine and some of the lunar black and watercolor, just to kind of make them look finished. They're just practices to get us going. So please try and warm up with me, and then keep practicing these on your own. The more you do them, the better you get, and keep that fresh stroke, you know, one time. Sometimes I was going back in a little, and I'm trying to avoid that, and I hope you will keep working it too. The more you do, the better we get. So thanks for joining me, and let's just show you the photography of what I did here. And you can see how they can kind of have a somewhat finished look when you're done. Thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll do the fish with these bamboo brushes. And I'll see you there. Thanks for joining me. Always glad to have you at the Spirit of Watercolor.